I have not heard from Chris. You want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'll call the meeting. Minutes.
It's Monday, June 2nd, 2025. It's 10:02. Okay, first item is minutes.
The meeting of May
May
19th.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second. Yes.
Yes.
We must,
Using that.
we're a problem. Telling you. Sit there.
Okay, next.
We received correspondence from the city of Chardon regarding, the health district's
Sure.
revenue for their budget.
I believe that that meets the statutory
Right out-
requirements.
Right out of the ORC.
Yes, so good work. Whoever told them to follow the law. Nice job, Chuck. Okay, I make a motion that we acknowledge the letter from the city of Chardon dated May 23rd, referencing revised code 3709.28F.
I'll second.
Yes.
Yes. Now, do we need to, we haven't approved their budget, correct?
No, well, we needed that, so. Where are we at? Or is that
So then.
another, or you want us to do it now? What do you want to do?
Let's do it down another, give Chris some time. to
Okay.
If that's possible.
Yep.
Here, door. Maybe his hand stuck to the door.
You didn't touch the door handle.
No,
No, the one outside. Paint.
No, it says wet paint.
There. Well, we can do the budget now, if that's.
your meeting.
Let's do it. Let's do the West job.
West Jaga?
Or do you want to do it later?
Let's do it. Just get settled, drink this, whatever the hell that is.
It's frappe.
Yeah, 4 minutes frappe.
Recognize this?
Huntington.
Okay, so West Geogga, it's amendment number 5 for school year 24-25. They have an increase in special revenue of 1,175,000. Increase in capital projects. So they have one capital project and then they're adding an additional line item to the capital project. One is for the middle school and one is for the high school. And then they have an increase in their fiduciary funds of 2,300. New special revenue fund total is 58,437,192.
Joe.
58,437,192.10. Special revenue is 7,841,129.92.
That's right.
Okay.
And then capital projects, 26,199,570.20. Fiduciary, 2,300. Total certificate, 94,373,460.97, and appropriations do not exceed.
This is not resident on the page.
Yes, that's just, this is a bunch of capital improvements in the, a bunch of different buildings.
Right, and it was actually talked about during their budget hearing, some of the things that went
And-
wrong that they had.
And I looked it up. This is a capital project fund. It is part of the ORC that contains reserve funds, but it's not the same as a reserve fund.
Okay,
It is a capital project fund.
okay. Right,
It's a lawful fund for the purpose in which they're doing it.
Yeah, so they first capital project fund for the middle school renovation, 4,750,000.
correct.
And then 11,500,000 for other capital projects.
Correct. For a total of 16,250,000. She did also, I did talk to Karen and she mentioned that I guess the state gave them an entire printout book almost, and they're gonna be recharacterizing a lot of their funds from where they're located. Just, so that's coming up, and I don't know if we're gonna be dealing with that when we do the first amended certificate with all the schools.
So they're doing basically what Chardon did after our constructive feedback. They're just do it about a year and a half later.
Well, I think they're doing it after they were planning on building a new facility and then elected to not to go that route.
Okay. So so moved.
Second.
Yes.
Yes.
In local schools. They have increase in their general fund of 77,649.20. They have a net adjustment in all of their special revenues of 184,566.89. Increase to debt services of $35,107.67. Net adjustments to capital project of $1,816,694.20. Internal services of $50,206.50 $206.96. Trust and agency funds of 24, net adjustment of a negative, $23,150. New general fund total, $20,704,857.43. Special revenue, $2,347,500.45. Debt service, $2,023,464.50. Capital projects, $2,412,459.06. Internal services, $49,793.04. Trust and agency, $54,994.46. Total certificate, $28,269,053.96. And appropriations to not exceed.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
Aye.
Are they losing a treasurer?
Yeah.
Yes.
That's unfortunate. For him.
He's
Going
going
back
to Liberty, somewhere, Trumbull,
something
something.
like that.
They can't-
Going back home.
They
That's
do
kind
a
of
lot
where it
of,
came
they do
from.
a lot of treasures.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of, like I said,
I like it.
Yeah, I like it too.
It's good.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yes, very reasonable. Newberry, it's amendment number 5, they're increasing their cemetery fund by 17,000. New special revenue fund total is 4,110,745.92. Total certificate, 7,376,796.78, and appropriations do not exceed.
So,
So, yes.
yes.
We have Bainbridge Township, it's amendment number 4. They have a increase on their capital project for police of 300,500. And then they have a new reserve fund for the fire capital, which is 500,000. New capital project fund total was $4,704,224.59. Total certificate, $31,012,449.87.
Bainbridge own their equipment.
Yes.
Yeah, they switched to a township.
They used to
They
be,
used to be a volunteer, now they're township run.
That's a better way to do it. And then I don't have a problem with the reserve because it's money, their department. A good thing.
So moved.
Second.
Yes.
yes.
You want to do their reserve?
Yeah,
Oh, this is their reserve fund?
No,
well,
Bainbridge.
or there is,
Then there.
well, it's the same study that they have.
Yeah.
It's the blue.
Yeah, they waited till their levy passed in order to do it. They were afraid of not having.
Does it require signature as well?
No.
No, just acknowledgement with a motion.
So your motion,
I'll make
Acknowledging
Passed.
creation of the.
a motion to
Right.
acknowledge the creation of their reserve.
okay.
Second. Yes.
Want to just do the appropriation measures for this year for the health department, and then we can talk about their budget.
Sure.
Okay.
That's these over here.
Yeah. So they're just appropriation transfers. One in the general fund, from contract services to materials and supplies and other remit to state, and then of 60,000, and then 10,000 into materials and supplies and 50,000 into remit to state. And then in Fund 6040, which is injury prevention, They have a transfer out of 25,000 into other of 25,000. Appropriations remain unchanged.
So is this the transfer we talked about earlier? This is a correction to it, or?
No, these are appropriation transfers, all those other ones. There's been a conversation going, I don't even know.
It's a hot mess.
It is because they're trying
We're
to
trying to transfer revenue between.
revenue, yes,
Between revenue.
with a
funds.
cash transfer.
We
And then they're trying to
basically,
transfer within a fund.
yeah,
And that's not a transfer.
we basically landed on telling them, we don't have enough information to tell you how to do this because we don't know what
Well,
you're doing.
the
We don't know
problem,
why
the
it
guy,
happened.
the guy who's asking it is an ex-auditor state employee. He doesn't know that you can't transfer, there's no such thing as a transfer of revenue within a fund. You're just using it for a different purpose. You're not, it's an appropriation issue. Right?
Well, the
And-
revenue, I think, is from one fund to another fund, but they want to go revenue to revenue. And what they need to do is appropriate and put it into transfer out in order to,
Then it becomes revenue as a transfer in and you certify it and then appropriate. What about the other one where they had a expense to expense transfer? I've never heard of such a thing.
and that should just be more of an appropriation kind of transfer.
So you just de-appropriate it in the one fund you're not gonna expend it in, and you appropriate it in the fund that you are gonna expend it in. You can't move it, we don't transfer an expense.
Right.
Okay, so that's not what these are.
No.
So we need a motion to do the right things. I mean, I'm really getting concerned. My anxiety is climbing by the millisecond.
We had a very good conversation with them, saying their proposed cash balances were completely inappropriate. This does not resolve this whatsoever.
No. This is not the resolution to that. This is just a normal course of business.
Right. This is just
Well,
putting,
they're,
these are,
They're, of course,
but but it's done
this is,
inappropriately.
No, this
No,
one
no,
is,
these-
these are done right, but they had a whole nother set, which I thought these were. They had come to me earlier last week. And they were trying to do transactions, which I didn't understand and recognize. They were trying to do
So
transfer.
that's another issue.
That's another issue.
Okay, so the issue before us,
Are the two transfers? There are two.
Should we get into the budget while we're?
well,
here?
no, let's get
Oh,
this done first. Yeah, so under other business, this is normal financials for any department. And this is good financials.
This
for them.
vetted out okay with you.
Yes,
That's
correct.
what I was,
We're getting here next.
we're still
Under powder dry.
yeah.
this is still,
They're powder.
it's so wrong.
The cannon's going to boom.
What are you looking at? Yeah, you're looking at something else. Since we're not gonna make the motion the normal way, I'll make a motion to accept the appropriation transfer request that they posed,
Okay.
which are these two items only. All we're doing is recognizing them, correct?
Yes.
Okay,
just
so-
now.
Okay, second.
Yes.
Yes.
Do I need to sign this?
No, we will do that.
Oh, yes.
You can do whatever you want. That's just normal course of business.
He
Yeah.
seems to object to the word normal.
Well, they're normal and normal are two different things, clearly.
So are you a no?
No, I said yes.
Okay.
No, he said yes. Okay, you can start letting that.
Okay, we're doing a certificate now then? We're doing the budget.
No, it's the certificate and the budget are one and the same.
This is for the budget.
Yes.
That, it's out there, yes.
Okay, now load the cannon.
Oh, it's loaded.
So the numbers on the certificate that we have here are the same numbers that were presented during the April 21st official budget hearing for the health district. Showing the transfers out from the funds and then the one transfer in to the 6002 fund. So nothing changed from what we had originally read back on April 21st. Included in the packet, the Schedule B. I, have the, worksheet so you can see what their total expenses are to revenues.
So. I never was good at poker. So similar to. If I can recall. When we were talking about. JFS's budget. Jim had. Information outside of the scope and knowledge of the other members of the Budget Commission. And. Nor should that scope of information been included to the Budget Commission. He had other knowledge. I too am in this same situation with Jaga Public Health. I have one of the highest degrees of concern I've ever had for a public entity with Jaga Public Health right now, due to the fact that I have been unsuccessful in trying to get them to discuss the current problems that surround both the issues brought up during their budget, as well as other accounting issues that my office is experiencing with them. Consequently, I cannot in good conscience approve their budget until I can get an audience to remedy the issues that are before us. There are too many risk factors for the general public, and there's too much money at risk that I don't think are being given the proper attention by their board or even by their health commission. And I've reached out to both, and I've gotten acknowledgement from both that they would call me, and they've not done that. The health commissioner was over a week ago, and the board member was as recently as Saturday. And
This is year 2 of the,
that's my worry. Everything with them goes on for years. So any remedy that we waive, anything we waive thinking it's going to be fixed, there is a high probability, in my view, that it won't be fixed because there's no sense of urgency. They don't seem to want to understand that the policies of Jaga County are that. They're Jaga County's policies, and they have to follow them. It doesn't matter if they're paying these bills from Lake County or they're doing anything with Lake County. I don't answer to the people in Lake County, I answer to the people in Jaga. And I'm very concerned with that.
the timeline for this budget is end of August.
No,
They're on their own. They have a school.
They're on the same calendar
Same
as
calendar as
this.
the school.
That's what I thought.
I don't know what happened.
So they have a July 1 Wednesday. But they don't have to do it that,
no, that's KFS.
on.
No, they
This is the.
typically,
their January
I
1.
think so, yeah.
uh-huh,
So they have far more time than schools.
Why would you do it so early? They don't have to do a tax budget, correct?
Hey,
Or do they? I should know that. Okay, it's funny.
I was told that it had to be approved by the end of May.
Yeah, because didn't we have an issue where their tax budget wasn't approved by the board? Was that last year?
it can't be approved by the end of May because by June 1st is when they have to tell me what the requirements are for revenue in a combined district.
From the city.
So you can't approve a budget before you know what the amount is.
So so they have to have a tax budget by July 15th.
I don't know. I have not researched that yet.
Yeah.
And right now,
Well, it's not really our place to be.
no, is anybody on from the,
No,
yeah, this is the concern I have.
Well,
They just think if they don't come, we're just gonna approve. And I have a problem with this. There are too many outstanding issues that have to be formally addressed and committed to. Otherwise, it goes on another year. This happened a year ago.
so just back to the deadline for the due date. I think it came up once before and, I think Ron looked into it and I did think it had to be the end of May. I don't know when they entered into that contract, if they
That
were
changed.
aware of it.
Well,
Right, so
I
that,
mean-
I mean, that's all I,
there's an old saying, ignorance of the law is no excuse, but I mean that, I'm not a lawyer, but I mean,
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't know the depth of the issues. I'm getting a sense from you reading, I don't know, words in your mouth. It's like there's some internal control matters that you as auditor have tried to address with them. That,
they don't think they're required to follow.
and so you're troubled by that, and you're gonna not vote for the budget. I totally understand that.
Yep.
I understand what you're saying. I get my biggest issue. They kind of redid this, and I really get frustrated when I see estimated revenues and estimated expenses matching down to the dollar in so many funds. You know, that rubs me the wrong way. My pet peeves.
Plus, if you look at that one, Fund 6011. They say they have an estimated cash balance of $225,000. That's 3.5 years without any additional revenue. Now, does the state audit them
Oh, yeah.
now that they're in Lake? But does the
They're
state?
not,
in
they're
our
not in
audit?
Lake. We are simply outsourcing services. They're still a Geauga County entity, because the state is auditing them.
Okay,
I mean.
and they
that's-
audited them last year.
The state. I believe they're on the same schedule as us,
I don't remember seeing their audit, but
and they're audited independently through a series of compliance requirements for grants, which I'm involved with right now with them.
how's that going?
Not well.
Alright.
Well, not well from my viewpoint, from their viewpoint, that I don't get the sense that they're concerned. That's what concerns me. If I had gotten the letter that they received last November from the compliance person in Columbus on a federal grant, I would probably not be sleeping since last November. And yet, doesn't seem to be a care in the world, which is very concerning. And we've had several meetings with the folks from Columbus, and there's been some hard lines drawn in the sand that are not going to move. And it's June 30th. And the state is considering clawing back.
This proposed budget would have a very hard time getting my support as it exists now. They don't have anybody here nor online. Clearly, we don't have their attention yet.
That's, you took the words out of my mouth.
So
And I don't know what to do to get their attention. I've sent 2 letters to them, most recent last week, to their board. I sent a panic text to their board member on Saturday, so I thought for sure I'd hear from them.
So the most important aspect is to not jeopardize the health of our county. While at the same time, we cannot allow any tax-supported entity to run without review. That's what they are asking us to continue to do.
Well, I recall your issue at the several budgets ago was that they had a lot of, and I think Jim's was too. They had a number of accounts that had excessive balances with no activity. And that money should be either returned to the taxpayers or used for lawful purposes. And not necessarily charging additional revenue streams to taxpayers when they have money. It's just not being utilized properly. I am not clear on what that directive, what their acceptance of that responsibility is and what their plan going forward is. I've not heard that. And I don't know that it can come from just an appointed person. I think it has to come from the elected body, that they have to be the ones that weigh in on the board.
Yeah, I don't think I don't think the board and certainly the HDAC, the township trustees understand.
I don't know that HDAC is aware of any of this.
No, and that's a problem. I mean, I guess, the conversation where we started taking a little bit of a deep dive of, you've got these excessive balances. I know the restricted funds, there's only. This is a broader issue when you talk about the budget commissions. We are an oversight panel that demands accountability, but we don't run just with the West Geogga thing. We don't manage their finances. We don't tell them what to spend their money on. We can't and shouldn't interject our thought process for what they're elected to do. But we can say, you have way too much money. You better figure out something to do with it or we're giving it back. And in West Geogga, we gave a chunk back. And now they've identified, worthwhile capital projects that they are spending their money on instead of asking the voters for it. That's wonderful. That's wonderful that I think that's our job, is to hold them accountable. I think we have to do the same thing with everybody. We can't tell the health district how to run the health district, but we also can't just, if there's these problems, we can't just approve these things. And I think there's a reason that each of us are on the budget commission. I think as auditor, if you see entities that do have compliance issues and you're struggling with how they're accounting for money or paying bills or their processes and procedures, I think you should bring that to budget commission. And
I'm doing so.
yeah, I think that's appropriate. Just like, you collect the taxes and
That's why there are three of us. We all come from different
yeah.
perspectives.
So I think we're supposed to bring that. I mean, just like I defended JFS because I knew how much effort and time and how far along they were with their youth center project. They do have too much money, but I think they're going to spend that on a worthwhile cause. So if you have those concerns, then I take that to heart.
A simple calculation of Fund 6042, population health. They have estimated expense of $700. They have $135,000. That's 190 years. That's an abomination. And I make a motion, we not approve the 2026 budget for the Geauga County Health District.
I'll second.
Further discussion?
I wish they would,
We need to vote.
I wish they'd come to the table.
If
I don't
it
know.
had been tabled twice already, I probably would vote no on this, but I mean, we're kind of dead in the line.
I think
So
instead of them getting more and more concerned, they're getting less concerned with our comment. And that to me is concerning in itself.
That's fine. They can do that.
a vote yes,
Uh,
yes to not approve the budget.
I vote yes.
Yes.
So I said, if it hadn't been tabled twice, I would have voted no, but
Adam should be here. He knows that.
I think their board should be here. It's just like asking for the trustees to come from townships. It's like asking for commissioners to come from the county. Adam is supposed to be doing the work of the board.
so should we? I think we should sign this, circle no, and then put circle declined. Right?
Yeah.
Who made the motion? You did,
Chuck.
yeah,
No,
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 Chris, and you seconded. No.
Yeah, 'cause I think- yeah,
Right.
yeah, one for us. One for them. This came up with 1585, we didn't give them an actual document to say decline.
I'm very concerned. I mean, like I said, a scale of 1 to 10, this is an 11.
Well, my hope is you're concerned about the process and not the safety of the actual money.
I don't know enough to know exactly where my concern should end. I'm concerned with people who have experience that far exceeds my experience in working with the state auditor, yet are asking questions which I've never heard in my life. That frightens me.
Well, that's-
Some of the things they're asking us to do that were signed off by Mike Mattis. They're just not, they're not real. They're not real actions. No, nobody does that. In any county, you just don't do that. And so my frustration is, how do I overcome that?
By doing exactly what we just did.
And I don't know
But
what
we've
else,
been doing this all along.
I don't know what else I can say to their board. I'm talking to Dr. Hendricks. Because he was the one who came to the budget meeting initially and then came to the second one. I have been communicating with him, hoping to get his attention, and my last one was a panic text. Doc, we got to get the board's attention on this. We have to. It's going to go bad. And he said he would call me.
So it's amazing. I want to say about 20 years ago, they didn't have any money. And there was a lot of turmoil. People were resigning off the council and there was lobbying to find out who was going to be appointed so that they could try and move forward. That was a long time ago. Now they are in the exact opposite position. They have resources coming up their wazoo and they don't account for it anywhere close to appropriately.
My bigger concern is that the taxpayers in Geauga County are expecting the arrangement with the lake to be a more efficient operation than what they had before. That's how it was sold to them. And if this is an indication of the efficiency, then clearly that's not happened. And that's my concern. Are we getting our money's worth? And I think not showing up after 2 times, it, to me, sends a huge message. It's like, we don't need to convince you guys. Well, okay, but the piper is coming. I'm telling you, the state has drawn a line in the sand. And the state's concerns are exactly the same as my concerns. And that's internal controls. These internal controls do not meet federal guidelines required for the grants. And they have to remedy that within a certain window of time or the money is going to be clawed back. And that freight train is coming.
So is this a Lake County problem that became a Geauga one because of the,
According to the people that were on the calls, Lake has not had this problem. However, all of the documents that are being submitted and all of the information that's being exchanged with the state compliance people are with Lake County people. There's no Geauga people in this loop other than our office, my office. And I've had 4 people working on this since, when did you start? January 1st of this year. I was courtesy copied on the November letter from the state. And we said, we want to help. How do we help them get in compliance? And it's been nothing but resistance. And that,
well, I mean, again, I think,
so I guess what I'm saying is, I think the position I'm seeing is they're using that there's issues with the auditor's office in that they can't get certain transactions through because they're not meeting our requirements. Those arguments and complaints are identical to that being expressed by the state in their submission of their grant documents. So is the message, we're all wrong and they're right? Why would the state just let them have their grant money? So I can only conclude that the state is seeing the same problem I'm seeing, and we're kind of in the same boat.
well, I know you've invested a lot of time. I don't think people appreciate that watch these meetings. I think they think, we just hammer people or whatever. I don't think they appreciate, I know they don't, a lot of them, how much effort you put into try to help people beforehand and be proactive with them. And usually if somebody's gotten to this spot where we're at right now, it's because They didn't,
I
they
can't,
didn't.
I can't be the buyer and the seller. I
Yeah,
can't be.
I think I mean, you know, you can spend your time how you want, but I think you've invested way too much time in this. I think.
My worry is the deadline date from the state is the end of June. And that is not a lot of time to get all of the things that were in the letter in compliance. I mean,
But
we
you
got,
can't,
we got bills that are over a year old that they haven't filed properly.
you know, JFS kept screwing up that report, the grant reporting for Europe and it hurt the whole county audit, but at some point you just gotta let people, they're never gonna learn if you keep helping them.
Acquiring of services was by agreement with the county commissioners, right?
No agreement with with the
HDAC.
Board of Health, I believe, did the contract.
I think they each did.
It's each,
Though,
did they?
thought they did.
I mean, it's more, no doubt more complicated because there's an HDEC board, there's a public health board, there's an administrator, and we're dealing with Lake County. So there's like all these different players.
The problem is, I mean, I'll just say it, the health board lost their best board member.
Yeah.
We gave that board
Oh,
member,
right.
and so I'm not complaining about it,
But I think it would
But
be,
it's a huge problem.
this situation should be brought to the attention of the.
I don't know that they can do anything.
I think this may be one of those instances where it is, though we want to be as efficient as humanly possible, sometimes government is more expensive, and this may be one of those instances. If indeed the Lake County services are not efficient enough to comply with the law.
Well, I agree with Jim though, Chris. I think if they want to contract with XYZ company to do their services, that's their board has to answer and rectify and remedy that. My issue is, you've got to get, if you are doing it, you still have to comply. You have to comply with the requirements of submitting an invoice, submitting it properly, having the timing proper, and having the funds available. And you have to do that for grants as well. And if you don't, you fail. I don't care if it's outsourced or insourced, you fail.
But if they're not able to do that.
They are able, because apparently they can do it for Lake. That's my concern. Why aren't they doing it for Geauga? And I understand policies in Geauga may be different than policies in Lake. That's true with all of the counties across the state. Our county has had a policy, for example, any board-driven entity, if you do a then and now, you have to have the board approve it. It's a protection mechanism because a bureaucrat should not be approving a remedy of law. That a then and now is a remedy to 40. You remember the appropriation? Why am I asking?
It would, come on.
It-
I know what it means, what
Yeah.
it says.
It's a remedy. It's a remedy if you try to pay a bill and you didn't process the bill, if you didn't open the encumbrance before you made the obligation, the only way to fix that in law, either it's void or you do it then and now, which means you had the money, you just didn't do your job. And so that then and now has to follow a test. And what they did is they first tried to submit all these bills for 3 months from last year at one time. But when we ran the test, you used the oldest date in the test. The money all had to be there on the oldest date because you submitted them all together. Well, they didn't have enough money, so it failed, lack of money. So they said, well, geez, what do we do now? Well, you have to break them up into the months that you had them. So they went to submit that and we said, well, wait a minute, then and nows require board's approval. Where's your board authorizing it? We don't need to do that. Well, no, you do. Everyone in the county has to do that if you're operating under a board. Mental health does. And the commissioners do when they do then and nows. Adrian has to go and get approval. It's in our policy. It's been there way before me. I didn't create the policy. Been there forever. Well, they're arguing that, well, we don't have to do that in Lake. Well, this is not a Lake bill. It's a Geauga bill. And so therein lies part of the problem. And those bills are what the state needs to see in order to satisfy the grant. They're trying to get money from this grant saying they consumed it. And the state says, you've never spent the money. Because there's no evidence you spent the money. And the problem is when they first asked for that evidence, they falsified, they said they spent it. And when the state asked me for a public records request, we didn't have the check. They asked you for that same data. They asked me for the invoice and in your office for the check. Both of us said, we don't see a check. And I said, I don't see an invoice. And the state was, we have a problem with that. That's a compliance problem. You can't say you paid a bill that you haven't paid yet.
Well, I think our denying their budget, if it doesn't get their attention, the important thing is the health, welfare of the county is not at risk.
Should we send the health board or the HDAC a letter? I mean, I don't know. I mean, I know you've sent letters.
The third one. I said, when just.
Maybe they'll take Chris and I more seriously. I mean, I don't
I
know
don't
what
know
else
what
to
to
do.
do.
Nobody's even
I
online.
was gonna go to the meeting on Wednesday. They had a meeting last Wednesday, but I was sick last Wednesday. I didn't want to go to the health board being sick. Awkward. So I didn't go, but I sent the letter and the letter said, I'm giving you, the wording was very,
We've done our job,
very direct.
without question. We've done our job.
Well, the denial certificate, can you send that to the board members and the president of the
We
HDAC?
don't have their email addresses. That's the other issue. There's no email addresses published for the board
How do they get communications?
through their administrator.
Oh, so you don't know this, so,
That's how I've been communicating with. That's why I've finally been texting the board member because I have no other way of getting hold of them. You go to the website and it just tells you who they are. It doesn't tell you how to get a hold of
they
them.
don't have an email?
No. I think that's, I don't want to, this is where I get angry because you're serving the taxpayers. You have no mechanism to communicate with them. Well, that's convenient. I would love that. Some days, there's days in my life I'd love to not be able to be communicated with. Unfortunately, I think would be a breach of my duty.
Some days that's a two-way street.
I know. Yes, it is.
Hey, whatever. I don't know. What? Just,
Get wet.
why don't we just send them mail copies? I mean, if somebody else opens it up and they don't get it, then
Mail to,
the board members.
why, we did. She did mail it to them as well.
Well, okay, I would like to mail the certificate denying their budget with a short cover letter saying, on June 2nd, the Budget Commission, continue, took up your continued met and took up the continued
And with
budget hearing.
nobody
of the health
representing
bud-
the health.
Yeah, no one from the health department or the health district appeared, either online or in person. The commission discussed the budget at length and unanimously voted to deny it.
And here's the link to the budget commission hearing.
That's it. What else are we supposed to do? So send maybe individually addressed to them, sent through the mail.
So we'll get with you, Pam, and see where you sent it.
So if we
Who's
don't-
the HDAC? Who's the HDAC president? Still Tiber?
No,
No,
is it Jason Sutter?
all I knew is that Chris Elise took.
No, Chris Luchef's no, they're not on
Okay,
that.
but he took over after Jonathan. didn't he?
Yeah, I don't know who it is.
So do you want us to send this to both the board and HDAC?
Do you know how to get a hold of each net?
It's in theaters, I
We
don't-
can send it to Adam and
If
say,
you call Jonathan, he can tell you who it is probably. Yeah, I would like to get HDEC involved. I mean, I'm concerned. I'm not,
Whether we could have, ask Jonathan to send it to the township trustees.
Jason Sutter is the HDAC president, by
is
the
he?
way. I just looked up our observer report on the last HDAC meeting, so.
No, thanks.
What
Sure.
to the city of Sharp?
Well,
Oh, okay, just,
they'll get it as a member of HDEC.
no, they're not members. Vote.
What do you mean? HDAC,
The city is, the municipalities are not members.
really?
Uh-huh. The townships drive that bus.
But the county is too. The county's a member.
Yeah, it's just the county and township and one representative from each township.
Nobody from the villages. I know that their contract says the city can't have anybody on the board.
Yeah,
I didn't know they couldn't have anybody on HDAC. So they don't get to vote for anybody on the board. Oh, that's weird. Well, yeah, I think it's gonna affect the township association.
So according to our observer report on HDAC, the villages do have seats on HDAC, but it looks like a lot of them didn't show for the last meeting. So Middlefield Village and South
Yeah,
Russell Village didn't
I
have
thought-
people,
I
but
thought-
Burton did.
I thought Mayor Grau was one of the members. I mean,
Maybe.
I thought the city couldn't participate in
the
this.
city had wrote in their contract that they could not serve on the board. The health board,
Oh,
Nobody from the city.
nobody, no, the city,
so,
I think that's
yeah,
it.
Mayor
That's-
Brown
that's-
was there at HDAC as Chardon's representative
Yeah,
at the last.
I thought I
I
saw.
thought they didn't have our.
I don't know.
I'm wrong.
I don't know.
They just can't do anything on the board. They can't have.
Exactly.
Well, that's in their agreement.
Right, right.
The agreement between Chardon and the health board and HDAC says there's a sentence in there that says they are not allowed to have a member of the health board. I don't know why that is, but why anything is in that contract.
Might be nice.
Want me to look?
I got it. Says the city of Chardon shall not appoint a representative to the board, and that's the Board of Health,
Mhm.
not the HDAC. Okay. I know 5 members. Yeah, I hate when this happens. I hate when this happens when it could have been prevented. Okay, is there anything else we need to do? You made a motion to send a letter. I'll second it. Aye.
Yes.
Um, we got, I don't know, anonymously through the mail, a copy of what Berkshire Local Schools put together as their funding story. So we just thought we would share a copy of it with
Yeah.
the members of the budget.
I read it.
Only other thing we had was we gave you all a copy of what the schedule is for the budget hearings coming up.
So,
Just, I mean, you already, the way that it was, but this is the formal.
Yeah, with the Berkshire thing, I would note that the appeal time, we believe, has lapsed for them to appeal the denial of the inside millage shift. So it appears that they're not appealing that, our decision. It's good. I like it.
ready to do for a comment?
It seems so soon.
Always does, doesn't it?
Yeah. Any public comment?
Hello.
Hello, Sarah.
So you denied the health district's budget. So I guess my question is, now what for them? Like, do they come back to you and or what happens next? Because theoretically, they need a budget to operate in 2026, right?
Yes. I mean, that's the conundrum, you know. I don't know that we can't do their budget for them.
Right.
We can't, you know, we can't vet we can't change something and then audit it or vet it. So in that regard, they have not satisfied the questions that have been posed of how some of these fund balances are going to be reduced in a timely manner and what that timely manner looks like. And it seems like the further down the road of discussion we've come, the fewer the participants on the other side of the table there are, which is, I think, a bad sign. Couple that with the other issues that are ancillary and separate from the budget commission items. I think there's obviously great concern. And that concern needs to get the attention of the board.
Okay. I guess we'll see.
Sarah, do you
Um,
have the budget papers? Does she get a copy of that?
I think I
She-
think I have the original from April numbers, and I think Kristen, you said nothing has really changed. So I don't,
Right. Right.
and I think that those were all published, I think, in the original report, so the public
Well,
has
when I-
those.
When I refer to a fund number, you know what number that is and you can look at it.
Yes,
Okay, good.
yes. I have somewhere in my records, I have a spreadsheet detailing all that, and then I think I identify every fund by number and by name on that original April 20 whatever report.
Would it be a
So-
conflict for the health district to hire you as some sort of advisor so that, you know, since you're the only one paying attention to this?
I don't know about that. I mean, I do own my own business. I am actually a consultant by trade, but not for that. I'm actually a psychologist, but I want no part of that. I think otherwise I'll just make my request for all the stuff from this meeting, especially the 2026 hearing schedule. Is that going to take place in the appraisal conference room, or where is that? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, absent any other facility in this area, but nothing will be done by then.
You think that basement's gonna be done by then?
Why do you laugh when
Wouldn't
you
even
ask that?
started by then.
So,
Oh, you have little faith.
no, I mean, I'll put it on my calendar and I'll look for all this stuff via email. But that's all I have. Thanks, everyone.
Thank
Sarah,
you.
please know your chair is right here for you.
I
She doesn't
appreciate
wanna
that.
drive all the way up here to listen to this. I don't blame her.
We'd enjoy your company.
Well, I try to come when there's hearings, so I'll probably make the trek in August. So
Okay, thank you.
All right.
thanks.
Anybody else?
Anybody else? Done.
Well, you,
Move to adjourn.
there you go.
All right, second.
Yes.
Yes.